Why am I protected? Why did I become the richest black man of all time? Like, how did that happen? So the ultimate service position is leader of the free world, to be the president of the United States. We get caught up in the past and what everyone's saying and what everyone's tweeting, and sometimes you just have to be fearless enough to break the simulation. What they do, what schools are doing is exactly what the CIA does with Pixar films and Disney films.
Kanye West boldly proclaims that the ultimate service lies in leading the free world, aspiring to the presidency of the United States.
It's funny, you know, in this world that we live in, there's two main motivating forces, and I tweet about it all the time. It's love or fear. And you can't explain love. You know, my cousin is locked up, and I love him. And so he did a bad thing, but I still love him.
Reflecting on societal battles, West acknowledges the futility of challenging entrenched indoctrination and media conglomerates.
The Disney guys, you know, you might not believe in God, but God believes in you. It's not a battle you can win. It's like, don't jump, Anakin, I have the higher ground kind of situation. So you could put out all of the indoctrinations and, you know, moves and have the biggest media company, but why am I alive? It's difficult to make me unhappy. Now I can deal with frustrations, but when those frustrations are, it's like when you've allowed people to be in your life that shouldn't be there, and then they do the thing you knew they were gonna do, and you're screaming at them, but you really need to scream at yourself. I thought it was good. I thought it was what I was supposed to do at that time. Yes. You know, if I see something, I see an opportunity, I'm gonna go for it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We only, you know, we're all gonna die one day.
Yeah, it's true.
So we live like that. Live like you could die tomorrow. You know, go for it. You know, those steps would have allowed that. Those steps have been the, you know, the platforms that allowed me to make it this far.
West reveals the personal cost of expressing support for Trump, facing ostracism within the black community for diverging from monolithic thought.
And just as a musician, African-American, guy out in Hollywood, all these different things, you know, everyone around me tried to pick my candidate for me. And then told me every time I said I like Trump that I couldn't say it out loud or my career would be over. I'd get kicked out the black community because blacks we're supposed to have a monolithic thought. We can only be Democrats and all. So even when I said it right before I went to the hospital and I expressed myself, and when I came out, I had lost my confidence. So I didn't have the confidence to take on the world and the possible backlash. And it took me a year and a half to have the confidence to stand up and put on the hat, no matter what the consequences were. And what it represented to me is not about policies, and because I'm not a politician like that, but it represented overcoming fear and doing what you felt, no matter what anyone said, and saying, you can't bully me. Liberals can't bully me, news can't bully me, the hip hop community, they can't bully me. Because at that point, if I'm afraid to be me, I'm no longer Ye. That's what makes Ye. And I actually quite enjoy when people actually are mad at me about certain things.
You must enjoy it.
Yeah. I actually quite enjoy it.
Because your wife was mad at you, right? I mean, according to your song, your wife was upset about that.
Right or wrong, or even if I changed my mind about it or thought about it more, which I'm not saying I did, just place a thought out there that everyone's not thinking sometimes.
Embracing his faith, West asserts that aligning with God will lead to divine favor and success.
Why am I protected? Why did I become the richest black man of all time? Like, how did that happen? And the more and more I lean into God and work for God, the more wins God is going to bestow on our team, on Jesus Gang. And for me to go out and just state an obvious and empathetic statement in the middle of the most liberal central, like to go, that was like Tiananmen Square or something, right? I was like, with Candace Owens, and we both wore the shirt at the same time. You know, we got some Jesus soldiers out here, and people say they're willing for it, but we live for it. We're living for the battle. And what's the battle for? Life itself. Our children. They're killing us through the food. They're killing us through the content. They're killing us through the programming. But God is alive and is alive in all of us, and we will overcome.
West exposes the manipulation of Black trauma for political gain, condemning the exploitation of suffering for electoral victories.
Soros would use Black trauma economy to win an election. What I love is having a healthy conversation. And as opposed to, there's certain things, you know, boom, this drops, people gonna have hats on. Boom, this drops, it's gonna be, you know, Black people and white people with signs. Boom, this drops. So, hey, China, hey, left agenda, hey, what we're gonna do is say that our species can have a healthy conversation.
With unwavering resolve, West welcomes challenges as opportunities for growth and problem solving.
And the whole thing, the comparison to this church to me going and saying, okay, why am I running for president, is to be in service. Not service to my own ego. You know, I feel like God says to me, like, haven't I given you enough? And I gave you an ego that helped you overcome all these, you know, roadblocks and smoke screens and people telling you what you can't do. Now you need to realize when you're doing things for your ego and when you're doing things for me. This is like God, what I feel God is saying to me. Because it really irritates me when people say, God told me to tell you. So I'm very like mindful with this kind of wording. I'm saying I have a feeling that that's what God is saying for me to be in service. So the ultimate service position is leader of the free world, to be the president of the United States. It's sometimes you see me on Twitter, I say, I want all the smoke. I want all the problems, because the problems are the opportunities. There's an opportunity to solve things. And Kurzweil, he created the keyboard Kurzweil. He has this video that Mark Romanek, this director that shot 99 Problems for Jay-Z, which is like my favorite, maybe like top 5 or top 2 favorite videos of all time. He also did Closer for Trent Reznor, and I just grew up on MTV in the 90s, and I love Mark Romanek videos. But he would share, he'd share little bits and pieces. And I remember Ray Kurzweil talking about the ability for us to have a utopia, but us being led by the least noble and the most greedy.
West challenges societal norms, advocating for fearlessness in breaking free from traditional constraints to advance as a collective.
I think people focus too much on the past and focus too much on regret. Even like when you deal with schools, like you take like the idea. My point is, I've heard of history class. I've never heard of a class that breaks down how you balance a checkbook or how you control your finances, which my father never taught me that. And I've never heard of a future class. So they keep us so focused on history that we start to believe that it actually repeats itself. And we become overly traditional, and we can't advance as a race of beings. We get too caught up in the past and what everyone's saying and what everyone's tweeting. And sometimes you just have to be fearless enough to break the simulation. And when I mean simulation, this is what I mean by the simulation. Sorry, I know you guys wanted to clap, but everything I'm gonna say is gonna be amazing.
Critiquing historical narratives, West highlights the erasure of African greatness, lamenting the portrayal of Africans primarily as servants.
What they do, what schools are doing, is exactly what the CIA does with Pixar films and Disney films. They make Bambi's mom in the beginning, right? And off that pain comes a purchase of ice cream. Off that pain comes, I need some more toys. Off that pain comes, I need a bigger house. Off that pain comes, I need more girls than my wife. Off that pain comes, so they put that pain in to make us, now we're the orphans of capitalism, to make us be consumers. And we need to be a community, not just consumers. So I could have went another 7 minutes by being a person who presents himself in a way that says, well, I don't have to feel your pain because I also have pain too that's not being recognized. And in every interview, when I say, well, why did I get to the point of putting up the tweet? No one wants to understand why I got to that point,
You
right?
had pain. You had pain.
Yeah, but
You
no
had
one.
pain in your heart.
But let's say this, undoubtedly, Jewish people have a lot of movies about that pain, and Black people have a lot of movies about the pain of, right? It's almost impossible to find a movie about Mansa Musa. When you go to the African History Museum in Washington, D.C., it doesn't start with the idea of Africans being kings. It starts with the idea of Africans being...
West pays homage to Michael Jackson for breaking down racial barriers in the music industry, paving the way for artists like himself.
Yeah, it's just the way I was consuming information in my life at that time, you know, information from, you know, whatever, negative information or positive information from the internet. Me, you know, just going to the Louvre, you know, and going to furniture exhibits and understanding that, trying to open up and do interviews at this, learning more about architecture, taking 1,000 meetings, attempting to get like backing to do clothing and different things like that, and like getting no headway whatsoever, you know, because, you know, and it was just that level of frustration. And that's what, you know, this is what frustration fucking sounds like.
Yeah.
This is what frustration sounds like. Like for me as Kanye West, I would not be Kanye West if it wasn't for Michael Jackson. I was with Quincy Jones a couple of days ago at John Legend's wedding. Quincy was telling me it wasn't just Mike, but these guys broke down, you know, the barriers. You know, of course, you know, like Michael Jackson, like he had to fight to get his video played because he was Black. This is Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson's not even Black. He's Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? It's like you know, like saying he's so crazy, like how can he even be just classified as like, you know, this Black artist? So for me, you know, in my life and creativity, it's been challenging. Yeah, it's been challenging and everything, but I was able to ascend to massive levels of heights and never stop, right? Because of the foundation that my mother and my father and my grandfather laid through civil rights, what Michael Jackson did with music videos and the ground he broke. There would be no Kanye West if it wasn't for Michael Jackson.
Delving into existential musings, West shares insights into the concept of living in a simulation, probing the nature of reality and existence.
Someone, or when someone gets in a position of leadership that is in service to God and in service to people, period, but immediately the American people, I had this joke I was saying, like, man, no one outside of our country should be able to see these debates. This is family business right here. This is only for America to see. We can't let anyone outside the country see it. But to be in service. So I stepped away already from my rap career for a year and served God every week, sometimes twice a week, 3 times a week, never missed a Sunday until, and this is the thing, there were people inside of the church stealing, doing different things, trying to just take them, and God still provided a way for us to keep that boat afloat. We never missed a service. And then one of my pastors, Pastor Adam, who is the way he preaches is called expository. It's like 1-to-1 by the word. Here's the idea why you're in a simulation. Let's start with acting, first of all. And a 2-year-old screams at a restaurant, the entire restaurant screams, teach that kid how to act. We're all unpaid actors in some giant script that we didn't write. Simulation, a 2-year-old jumps on a coffee table and someone says, "That's a coffee table, don't jump on that." So it went from being something that makes him feel like Superman, he's got his cape on, to something where he has to think about this person's like a family member he doesn't like anyway. He's 2 years old, he doesn't give a about a coffee or a table. And he's starting to like calculate all these things. And by the time you're 40 years old, you've got a wall full of coffee tables calculating you into traffic, calculating you into your career choice, calculating you into this townhouse that's not quite as big as the townhouse next, and it just never works. You know, that's the simulation that I'm talking. That's what I mean when I say simulation. I'm disagreeing that we need to harp on the things that happen, because the truth is, I'm giving a fact. 50% today of, let's say, you don't call black people Jew, right? Black people today is abortion. Today, right now, like that, it's not racism. That's too wide of a term. It's and population control that black people are in today in America that is promoted by the music and the media that black people make, that Jewish record labels get paid off of, or media companies. Record labels and media company also, so let's give it a wider. Well, I've reached a point in my life where my Truman Show boat has hit the painting, and I've got to a point that Michael Jackson did not break down. I have reached the glass ceiling as a creative person, as a celebrity. When I say that, it means I want to do product. I am a product person, not just clothing, but water bottle design, architecture, everything, you know, that you could, you know, think about. And I've been at it for 10 years. And I look around, I say, wait a second, there's no one around here in this space that looks like me. And if they are, they're quiet as. So that means, wait a second, now we're seriously like in a civil rights movement. Like people used to joke about, do you remember our South Park photo?
Yeah, I do.
Remember how funny that was? Do you think there would be a Givenchy in the hood if it wasn't for that South Park photo?
Yeah.
But no one thinks about that. No one thinks about the names I got called for like wearing tight jeans. This person, I'm gonna listen to the kids, bro. You know, I'm gonna listen to my daughter. I'm gonna listen to kids before I listen to, you know, super programmed out adults. And especially if that adult hasn't done something that I am looking to do.
Right.
So it's so funny how people are so like free and almost arrogant with their advice. And I'm just like, why would I listen to you? That was the first one. I was inspired after seeing this Alexander McQueen film, because this is a beautiful, amazing artist that himself, and he always would talk about it. He even designed his own casket, and I've thought of like casket design. I thought about a tombstone that said, "Are you happy now?" So
it's funny, but not funny, really, though, because
yeah.
You know, it's when you have thoughts like that, you have to be careful and talk to people.
Yeah, but you have to be careful and, well, not be careful, just be expressive and understand that all these people are sensitive people. Like you get these celebrities and they get a bad photo and everyone just tears them all the way to shreds, and you forget that this is a daughter, a son, a mom, a dad. And, you know, I think I fight for all of us. They created, there was a Jewish trainer that brought me to the hospital and put in press that I went to the hospital. I know friends that off of exhaustion, a Jewish doctor, they
Why do you keep saying Jewish?
Because they were, right? Diagnosed me with bipolar disorder and me with medication and put me on medication, then put it in the press. And every time, even if I wore the wrong color hat that it's not supposed to wear, right? Then they immediately say he's off of it.
He's off his meds, he's off his rocker, and it's literally used as a scarlet letter control mechanism for the people. Understand, the kids, the colleges, the high schools, what do you think they put me right now? They put me as the prophet, not the leader. It doesn't have to be the leader, right? Because we need a more intelligent person to be the leader, but at least, right? They put me as the prophet. They put me as the only person that would say this. And I'm just saying that was 4 Jewish members that controlled my voice, because for the fact that 90% of Black people in entertainment, from sports to music to acting, are in some way tied into Jewish business people. Meaning that in some way, just like if Ram is sitting next to Obama or Jared sitting next to Trump, there's a Jewish person right there controlling the country, the Jewish people controlling that who gets the best video or not, controlling what the media says about me.
It's a person, not Jewish. Let me just say one thing.
But they are, though. That's the only thing. It just so happens that they are. It just so happens that they are. That doesn't mean that I hate them. That just means that they are. Where's the culture at? Yeah. Where is the culture at? So then I scream, and I'm sitting in the middle of it. Whether I'm at a dinner with Anna Wintour, or I'm at a listening session with Pusha, or me and Virgil are in Rome giving designs to Fendi over and over and getting our designs knocked down. Brought the leather jogging pants 6 years ago to Fendi, and they said no. How many you done seen with a leather jogging pant? Yeah, okay. Meaning, like, so when I see Hedy Slimane, and it's all like, okay, this is my take on the world. Yeah, he got some nice $5,000 jeans in there. There's some nice ones here and there, some good here and there. But we culture. Rap the new rock and roll. We culture. Rap is the new rock and roll. We the rock stars.
It's been like that now for a minute.
It's been like that for a minute, Hedy Slimane. It's been like that for a minute. And we the real rock stars, and I'm the biggest of all of them. I'm the #1 rock star on the planet. So he said my son wants to hear a rap album from Ye, and that was the paradigm shift for me. I use that word a lot. I like that. I like paradigm shift. It's one of my favorite words. And I made this rap album, and for a lot of people, it was the first album that they could play with a certain production level in the house with their family. Now, you could argue if the Watch the Throne production was stronger or better than Jesus is King production, but when I go and I've been working with Dr. Dre, and some of the beats would just be like, the hardest beats possible, and it's something that was very spiritual and meditative about the mix on Jesus is King, that it wasn't hitting as hard as Jesus or hitting as hard as Watch the Throne. It was like, this is how God wanted me to make this sonic painting, and the way he wanted me to communicate. Then so we did that album, and then we did the Jesus is Born album, which also I got that idea from Pastor Adams. And I mean, there's people who that's the only album they play, and it's just bringing these gospel. And I tell you, like, my formula for these hymns I'm writing, because I'm writing the songs that we're doing at Sunday service is basically my book of hymns for the future gospel university. You guys don't understand that I've met with companies and they say, what we're trying to figure out is how we can control you and control that. If you're an architect, if you're a world builder, if you have all these ideas and you're Gaudi and you want to build buildings, if you don't ever get that out, what's gonna happen?
Isn't that why you do it? Isn't it the process? Isn't it the point?
Y'all don't think you're really hearing what I'm saying.
But I'm trying to.
As a creative,
yeah,
for you to have done something to the level of the Yeezys and not be able to create more. And you cannot You cannot create that on your own with no support, with no backing. So when I say clean water was only served to the fairer skin, what I'm saying is we're making product with chitlins, t-shirts. That's the most we can make, t-shirts. We can have our best perspective on t-shirts. But if it's anything else, your Truman Show boat is hitting the wall. And what's more important to me about this than everything that I could do sonically and everything is, if I go somewhere and someone says, hey, we don't like Kanye West, you've heard that before, right? What people don't realize is, I want to make uniforms for my high school basketball team through brand Yeezy. I want to make that one step and then make another step and then eventually do uniforms for the entire city. Then I want those uniforms to be hot and make money then I eventually want to be the anchor and the force behind a $1 billion company. And after I made that $1 billion step, then I can go in and say, hey, I've got an opinion on this. And that could be a $10 billion step. And I eventually want to be the anchor of the first $1 trillion company.